Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Needed Art History, where I'm sitting telling you some art history stories while knitting. And well, welcome to another video. And so today's video will be also about more on a historical side rather than art history. But well, it is still, I think, important. It is still like somehow like combined with art, because we are going to be talking about De Beers company, as you can see. And I'm more than sure that a lot of you actually don't know about this company, but well, who knows. So De Beers company is a diamond company, so we're going to be talking about diamonds and just their history and how this obsession with diamonds evolved, and well, how De Beers were able to manipulate, propagate these ideas into a lot of people's head. Today I'm going to be just sitting talking with you. I don't have, to be honest, anything to knit, like because I don't really like summer knitted clothes. Maybe next few videos, few months, so I'll be just sitting talking with you. And yeah, so without further ado, let's dive into our topic today. So today I'm going to be telling you a story about a company that created perhaps one of the biggest illusions like in the world, and made everyone believe in the value of diamonds, and what is the most important, that everyone needs them. Again, De Beers company, a diamond company, which is like, it's kind of old, but to be honest, not so old, a little bit like older than 100 years. And currently, you see, they still owns almost all of the diamond mines in the world. So they are like almost a complete monopolize in the world, owning like 90% of this business, and again, of all of the mines in the world, which is like crazy to think about, to be honest. And obviously, if you are basically like the biggest supplier of diamonds in the world, you are dictating like how these diamonds and everything will be perceived, and how your sales will be going and everything. So let's start just overall about diamonds. And this is like, I will highlight that we're talking like specifically about diamonds. So I'm not talking about other precious stones, because they obviously they existed, they were very popular, like in medieval period of time they were more popular. But I'm talking specifically, we're talking today about history of diamond. Eventually, like just like century and a half ago, diamonds were actually like rare, but not because there's like not a lot of them, uh, purely just because people were not mining them on purpose. They were not searching for them, and every diamond that were found before that, before like this the African campaign, it was just a pure coincidence. So these things were found mostly in rivers, and the two biggest places before South Africa became the main importer of diamonds, it was actually India and Brazil. And well, especially the Indian ones, the Indian diamonds were loved, or appreciated more. Especially it was the Golconda diamonds, because it was said, why I'm saying it was said, because apparently like approximately about 150 years ago, all diamond reserves were already exhausted there. So by sayings of people of the past and everything, it was said that these diamonds were amazingly beautiful. They were so clean that they looked like just a clean drop of water, and the light was going on through them, so amazingly beautiful that um, yeah, that nothing was compared to them. And according to experts, modern South African diamonds do not have this beauty in them as Golcondians one had. Interesting also, the current, you see, the diamond grading standards, they did not appear until 1960s, so not so long ago. And it was part of the marketing campaign, one of the main intentions of which was to make middle-class people feel happy about buying smaller and not so beautiful stones. The story of this massive story of diamond began in 1870s. So a young man named Erasmus Jacobs, he retrieved a massive shapeless crystal from the Orange River, which is in South Africa. And well, this diamond we know now as like important like historically important diamond by the name Star of South Africa. So I was mentioning about like in the video of Cartier, previous one, about the diamond Hope. So Hope and Star of South Africa is considered to be like, just on the same level, as we can say. And almost immediately after this finding, numerous mines were discovered there, and tons of diamonds started to begin to be extracted from the ground. And obviously, all of this shaped the world, the economy, and this strange obsession with diamonds started to creep bit by bit into our heads. But about De Beers. So De Beers was found by a British man, Cecil Rhodes, who were a cotton farmer at first. So as far as I understood about him, so he was like pretty well-off person, just like at the beginning. And he actually, like how he got to Africa, to South Africa, because he had some kind of problems with his health. So he with his brother, they moved to South Africa, so because the climate was better for him and everything. And they started there this like cotton business, like cotton farm, but it didn't like really work out. I don't know why, but it didn't work out. So they either sold it or they just closed it. So like whatever, and they decided to move on. And overall, just like he was a pretty well-known person in Britain. So Queen Victoria knew about him, and by 1890 he already had pretty a lot of titles. He was knighted and all of these things. And in 1890 he was appointed a prime minister of Cape Colony. But apparently it was not enough for him still. So his main dream was actually the annexation of some of African country and uniting them under one flag, and also create a transcontinental, right, the stress here, railway state, like railway. And so to connect South Africa with Cairo. Like the man have like really very very serious intentions. And during this also his time in the office as prime minister, he actually created his own state, his own like country that he called after himself, obviously Rhodesia. But at the end of the day, this like so-called country fell apart, and it seems that this should have been the end of Rhodes and his affairs and his business and everything. But no, this world strangely gives those like assholes like this everything that they want at the end of the day. So he decided to start his own business. And just overall, this period you see we're talking about, so this period was the time of the colonial division of Africa. So this like Western countries, they hastily and haphazardly they try to divide countries among themselves in pursuit of their wealth, in pursuit of their natural resources. So you see, so when young lad Jacob, Erasmus Jacob, found this piece of diamond in a territory that was marked actually by Rhodes, one can only imagine the surprise and also delight of the last one of Rhodes. Rhodes at the beginning, so he started his business by renting out some of the necessary equipment, I wanted to say machinery, but like necessary equipment, yeah, it would be more correct to say, for pumping water out of mines. And subsequently, then at some point, I don't know, he decided to start to buy actually these plots of land that where this mines were, and he was laying bit by bit the foundation of one of the largest monopolies in the world. And the diamond fever increased with every year. And by 1888, there were only a few big names in the African diamond business. And the largest of the company was Rhodes, De Beers Consolidated Mines. It was named like this after the Afrikanders farmers, which were Dutch colonists whose territories just literally bought almost for nothing, very, very cheap. You see, control over territory and the diamonds was really not enough, because now it was necessary to make the whole world believe that, believe into the value of this stone. And you see what is the secret is the situation that diamonds, they are actually not rare, at all, and they are not valuable either. at all. So all of this value that we are given to diamonds now, they were created in our heads by the beers and by advertisement. So, I always had some like problems with all of this. Like, I'm not really, uh, I have problems with a lot of luxury brands, and because years ago, like really a lot of years ago, I stumbled upon a video about few documentaries on YouTube actually about where all of these luxury brands like Versace, like this, like Prada, Louis Vuitton, and all of that, where they are buying their fabrics and what is most important, leather, how people are working there, and these journals were very brave to create these documentaries, and they were showing, under the how to say it, under disguise, how it was working, and I just like saw all of that, and I was shocked because I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest, but not that. Also, another documentary was about the fur, where all of these brands, like more luxury brands, more brands that are considered to be like brands for middle class, like Max Mara and like Massimo Dutti. But in Ukraine here, they are actually considered to be also like kind of luxury brands, because they're very expensive actually for an average person. And so here also, the fur, all of this is mostly is being bought in China on completely illegal markets, and it also was very dangerous for journalists to go there and to try to film all of that. But they did it, and they were then asking all these companies like, oh, so we found out this and that about where you're buying this fur and everything. And as usual, these companies were like, oh really, we didn't knew about it. So I was like, of course you didn't know. Yes, of course, right. And what. Oh, and about also the, don't ask me about these documentaries. I don't know. I am trying to find them myself because I really want to rewatch them also, but I cannot find them. I don't remember the name or anything. Like, yeah, like I lost these documentaries, but I'm like, yeah. And other thing also that completely like destroyed me, as we can say, was when I found out that Louis Vuitton and Burberry also, they are actually burning down their whole old collection. So they're so fucking salty of selling their products for a cheaper price to, so people can buy, like average people who want like Louis Vuitton, for it's like, I don't know why you want to have a Louis Vuitton specific, but well, okay, let it be. They would rather burn this down, all of this leather goods, rather than sell it for like cheaper price. And I was like, what? So so I have like everyone who's supporting Louis Vuitton for me, and Burberry, all of the celebrities who are like the faces of Louis Vuitton and everything, just overall all of the celebrities who are faces of a lot of these brands. Like I am very, very skeptical about this, because like you cannot and especially it's really baffles me when such celebrities that are going around and like talking about human rights, about the rights of some minorities, especially black artists, black actresses, models, and they're talking about the life of their fellow black people, and especially of those of Africans, and at the same time being the face of all of these companies that are actually stripping your fellow black people from their human rights. Like and I believe that this is just a pure stupidity, and I just really don't want to get deep into this theme. I don't know, I have a very, very this like feelings toward that. Like it really, I do understand that all of this industry, the celebrity industry, is like also piece of work, but at the end of the day, at least don't fucking talk about certain things while you are being a problem, like part of the problem, while these people that you're trying to advocate for are being oppressed. This is like, for example, also the biggest, like, I am a very big fan of Angelina Jolie. Like, I really love her. I really, like, maybe one day I will tell you the story how I was running. I was trying to find her in Lviv when she was there, and obviously I did not find her because of goddamn air raid sirens started. And yeah, but I was trying to see her because I think that was my only chance in life to see her. But I have very big problems, with her, especially because she's like she's helping with this like UNICEF, like UN and everything. And at the same time, so she's going to this country, she's like advocating for also education for girls, and for like girls rights and for human rights. And at the same time, by being the face of all of like these companies like Guerlain, like again, all these luxury brands that are actually stripping these people out of the rights that you are fighting for them. Like, make it make sense. In my head it doesn't make any sense for me. So yeah, so with Diamond is completely like this also. Like, I really don't understand why the hell, like, I mean, if you can spend, like, if you want to spend your money, a lot of your money on something, I don't know, find something interesting for yourself and spend this money for those who really need them. You see, this is why I never would be able to be like a rich person, because I don't have, this conscience of being rich, or I don't know, because, if I would know that, like, with this money I can help someone, and like, really help, not just make someone happy for them to spend their money on Disneyland or something, or really, with this money support some kind of like, I don't know, like studies or whatever. Like, I would. So I don't really understand when people like, why the hell, like literally, I think that we need to have some kind of limit actually on how much money you can actually have during a lifetime, because like, no one will convince me that you can spend, I don't know, like, let's start with like $100 million and up. You cannot spend this during your lifetime. Like, you will like it or not. And I mean, like, on really needed things, not the cars that, this is so funny also for me, all of this like Monaco situation, for example, seeing all of this Ferraris, Bugattis, like Lamborghinis and everything in a fucking Monaco. Where are you even driving in the, like, Monaco is like, people, is 2 kilometers square. It's like smaller than my like micro part of Kiev where I live. Twice micro, so this is like not even the whole district of Kiev. So like, it's twice of the, it's like smaller, not twice, but yes, it's smaller than New York Central Park actually. Where the hell are you driving there in a fucking Ferrari? Tell me, please. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's not comfortable. It's this pure desire to show off. Like, it's that is something else, to be honest. But, well, I got blown away again. Like, you see, this theme really like equips into me, and I really don't understand all of that. Like, so, like, yeah, I can talk about this for hours, to be honest, but I will not, because I don't have memory on my phone for this. So yeah, so I'm sorry. Let's, like, getting back to our theme, getting back to De Beers. What was the situation? So we're getting to the fact, so, the need in controlling people's mind, not just the diamond mining process. So by 1882, the diamond market in Africa had actually collapsed. Because 10 years before that, so starting from 1872, 1 million carats were mined each year. Very rare things. And it's like this, mind you, just in South Africa. I'm not talking about any other parts, just South Africa, 1 million carat every year. So it was 5 times more than everything mined in other parts of the world combined. And obviously, as a result, this Cape diamond began to lose their value because, well, first of all, they were not as good as former Golconda, this Indian diamonds, and B, there were just too many of them, too many of diamonds. So the greatest fear of Cecil Rhodes crept in, so the total devaluation of diamonds and the shift of attention of the rich people to like other stones. Therefore, in 1888, Rhodes, he came up with a brilliant, well, for him, obviously, a solution to the problem. He persuaded the owners of deposits to unite and to create a company that would actually regulate the flow of diamonds to the market. He decided that if they could not control the level of diamond mining, they could at least control, you see, control their own reserves of these diamonds. By 1980, so like De Beers Consolidated Mines, they already owned all the diamond deposits in South Africa. And thus they had just the power to put on the market exactly as many diamonds as they considered necessary to maintain this illusion of diamond value. And people who really wanted to own them really believed that like the number of diamonds in this world is pretty limited. The discovery of these new deposits continued, and in 1891 De Beers, they artificially reduced the production of diamonds by 1/3 to again further support their lies that there are not enough of diamonds for everyone. In 1902, Rhodes he actually died, and the same year another enormously large mine was discovered. But the owner of this deposits of this mine at this time was not Rhodes, but Rhodes or De Beers. It was a guy, a businessman, Ernest Oppenheimer. And more diamonds could be extracted from this Cullinan mine, it was called like that, alone, that from all of the De Beers mines combined. De Beers, so they managed at the beginning, so they managed actually to fool people about the value of diamonds until 1908. Because this year the diamond market actually, it almost collapsed again. But well, they were able to maintain it somehow, so you know, so it survived, but it was on a worse level than it was previously, because you see, like 1908, the world actually started to prepare to World War One. So you know, the World War One started to creep in bit by bit, and people were like, of course, the majority had no interest in diamonds. People were preparing themselves for the worst, and they were, you know, buying like very needed stuff. Rather than completely unneeded diamonds. Since in times of crisis, people, they do not stock on diamonds because they completely are not necessary for survival, De Beers began to panic. In 1914, presumably under the pressure of Oppenheimer, who apparently he was, you know, he had no less ambition than Rhodes himself. Under the pressure of Oppenheimer, my God, the two companies, like De Beers and his company, sat down to negotiate, and they signed the price fixing agreement. So they were supposed to combine companies and diamonds founds and put them on markets in as small quantity as possible to continue on supporting this illusion of limited production, of limited products, of rarity of diamonds and everything. And well, you see, they thought that it worked once, it might work this time too. And so they survived the World War One and everything. And by the end of the war, Oppenheimer, he actually became the head of De Beers. And thus the company became the only entity that controlled 90% of all of the diamonds and like diamond deposits on the planet. For the first time in history, the control over like the supply of diamonds was in the hand of one person in this world, of the person whose goal was obviously to make as much profit as possible from their products. However, despite, you see, De Beers' plans to continue artificially creating the shortages, diamond fever continued to build still. You know, they were still finding a lot of new mines. New deposits were constantly discovered, and diamonds were mined like basically almost like gravel. You see, like there were so many of that, and it still is. Therefore, it became very clear to Oppenheimer that for the sake of greater earnings, it is not enough to maintain the illusion of rarity of diamonds. It's now necessary to convince everyone that diamonds are, well, necessary and needed, and everyone wants them. It was necessary to convince everyone that ordinary pressed coal has a considerable value, because, well, basically, after all, diamond is an allotrope of carbon, and basically diamond is pressed coal. And you know, other allotropes of carbon are coal, again, are carbon black and graphite. So now very valuable things, right, in our heads. And overall, carbon is like, you know, it's a part of almost like almost everything. of our body, also of everything that we're seeing like around us. The Gemological Institute of America also estimates that 4.5 billion of carats of diamonds were mined in South Africa alone, starting from when this all of this diamond fever started from 1870. For you to understand the scales, it is enough to give each and every one of us what we're like almost 8 billion, or we are already 8 billion people in the world, to give each and every one of us a ring with 1.5 carat of diamond and still leave 1 billion carats as a reserve. So you don't understand the scales. So you see, here's your rarity and value. None, basically. Also very interesting stuff was for me to find out that diamonds are not actually eternal. So advertising agencies try in every way to create this illusion of diamonds longevity, but this is also not really true. So the thing is that the diamond really can be cut just by another diamond, but it doesn't mean that it can be destroyed by anything else in any other way. And diamonds are very hard indeed, and all of this thanks to their perfect cubic grit, and they're really considered the hardest substance among all of the minerals, among all of the stones. They are 50 actually times stronger than the next in line sapphire. However, firm does not really mean strong. You can scratch them, again, just by diamond though, but you can still scratch them. So if you have a lot of diamonds in your jewelry box, be very cautious about this, because this diamond, they can scratch each other. You can actually also burn them burn them down completely, that there will be they will disappear without a trace. However, the temperature of this burn need to be very high, so it's at least 1,000 degree Celsius. However, I mean, you can make it, you can do that. So diamonds can be burned down. Interestingly, also, you can actually crush your diamond with a hammer. Pretty well, not maybe easily, but you can do that. You can destroy your diamonds by hammer also. Another thing is that diamonds are not really heat resistant, and in fact someday all diamonds will turn into just this ordinary graphite. In your lifetime though, you will not really see this, because at room temperature this process is very, very slow, but in the bowels of the earth under the influence of higher temperatures, this process is faster. So in fact, for more than 80 years at this point, it is not the diamonds themselves that have been sold, but it was the idea behind them. And now let's talk about that. So in 1930s, the Beers company, they completely controlled the supply of diamonds, and accordingly, to some extent, the demand for them. However, they could not obviously control the economies of different countries. And again, we are getting to the point of Second World War. People once again stopped buying diamonds in such an vast amount, because I'm more than sure, obviously, that there were people, there were speculators who were using this period of time, this period of crisis, and they were buying these diamonds and other jewelries by lower prices. But overall, we're talking about about overall people, about overall situation, that people stopped buying diamonds, obviously. And at this point already, in this period of time, some of them actually started to even sell their own diamonds they owned already. Turned out, so I didn't know about that because, well, I don't own any diamonds, but turned out that reselling your diamond is actually a pretty hard task. Why? Because the same diamonds, they are actually not worth nearly as much as they were sold to you. So therefore, you see, the stores, they do not really want to find themselves in a situation where it is necessary to explain this to you as a buyer, that we actually overpriced them, they're actually not so valuable, and we cannot actually pay you this price that you bought it, or at least reduce it a little bit, but still a really high price, because they don't cost this. So in general, the release of diamonds would destroy demand. And De Beers created such conditions at this point already that diamonds currently have such a large economic weight that if their value disappeared, the entire world economy would just quickly collapse. So we return to the topic not of just, controlling the demand, but also controlling the hearts and desires of luxury connoisseurs. So we all know the formula already hammered into our heads about diamonds are the best friends of girls, right? And the idea of a diamond engagement ring too, like a tradition that actually did not exist until the middle of the 20th century. We will be talking about engagement ring a little bit like in more detail. So this is a well thought out marketing strategy spanning 80 years. This became a model for all modern advertising campaigns and primarily also for tobacco products. So De Beers managed to take a product that did not cost much and turn it into a standard of precious stone. And they were able to stabilize their sales so much that even during all of this very critical moments in history, all of this global economic crisis, and in the period of especially in the 2010s, so 2008, 2009, 10, their sales did not actually change and demand did not fall. And De Beers has managed to create a product that has actually never lost its value since they took over almost the entire industry 80 years ago. De Beers essentially it's actually now it's a cartel, and actually the biggest one in the world, as we can say. And they include in themselves a lot of different smaller companies. God knows what they are doing, because overall De Beers are pretty close company, and they're obviously closed, right? And obviously they control a lot of things. They control how public is pursuing them and everything, so it's not really easy to get to them. But yeah, so they have a lot of these different little companies. So they are actually now in the market of not just of diamonds, but a lot of different precious stones. Of actually, I saw that somewhere that they are actually owning some explosives and everything. So they're very vast company with a lot of different things. This invisible hand, so to speak, created the idea that diamonds are the rarest and most precious of all of the stones. And again, you can ask how they managed to do this, how they were able to achieve that. Very simply, as in every other industry, they created a precedent. In 1477, 18-year-old Maximilian, future emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, he presented to love of his life, Mary of Burgundy, a diamond ring, engagement ring, and asked her to marry him. Lovely story, everything, right? Amazing, beautiful. And this is how the tradition of giving a diamond rings for engagement began, which has been going on now for more than 5 centuries. Or 1,001 stories, in which De Beers would like to believe, or, which is more important, which they would like you to believe. How was everything in reality? So Maximilian, indeed, he he did propose to Mary of Burgundy in 1477. However, throughout his ambassadors, he never saw her in real life. So there's this is not a love story, nothing like that. They never met before. They didn't know about each other. Well, I mean, they know about each other's existence, but didn't know, I don't need to explain to you. You know how things were going on back then, how people, these rich people were getting married. It was a political move. And, and he indeed presented a diamond ring, but not this diamond ring as you can imagine, with this big stone and everything. It was just a ring with the letter M, which was, laid out with diamonds. And there's few versions, this letter M might be the first initial of Mary, the name Mary, but most likely this M meant the word merger, which means unification. Skipping again to our period of time, in 1938, De Beers, they turned to the advertising agency, NV Ayers, with very clear task of creating such advertisement well, you need to understand it as propaganda that would make people buy their product. So the backbone of the team were two women, Dorothy Dignam and Frances Geraghty. They were the one that actually created this strategy for De Beers that just overall even changed the world of sales. They are responsible for the fact that millions of women around the world, they have a diamond ring now. And it is also estimated that $7 billion worth of diamond rings were sold in the US alone in 2015. So the campaign was pretty successful, as we can see. Interesting also think about here, I will add that don't get really surprised that in 1930s and 40s two women were in charge of like this advertisement not process. They were in this position because apparently it was a pretty common situation, common practice to hire women in this, for this position of sales people, of this people who are creating advertisement in order to successfully sell products specifically to women. In general, if we will talk about the history of engagement rings, so such things really did exist in our history. So Greek and Roman people, they knew such thing, and they were exchanging this like engagement rings. However, in biggest part of the world, like in biggest part of cultures, like in Asian cultures, in like whole of the Asia, like West and like Central, like India, like Middle East, like African, they were they were a little bit different type of jewelry that was given to engagement, like bracelets and stuff like that. So it was not about rings. Like in West Asia, it was not known at all. I mean, like Japan, China, South Korea, and everything. So it was not really common. But in like here in Europe, it was a common thing, especially Romans. Like we mostly can talk about this in the context of Rome and Romans. They did indeed had such a thing as engagement ring, and they also interestingly they wore them also as like modern Catholics are wearing them on this finger in the left hand, because why I'm saying Catholics, because Orthodox, they're wearing their engagement rings on the right hand. However, we are not talking about these modern rings, about those that De Beers like created, that De Beers made us believe into. Those were just basically a metal like a metal little rings without any like decoration, without anything, and it was made of metal as a symbol of of straight of the relationship, of their marriage, like whatever you like. And interestingly, they just overall Romans were exchanging this also these rings and some goods like this with not just with their loved ones, but sometimes even with their allies and with their friends. And these rings that were exchanged with allies and friends, they were actually most of the time they're decorated with some ornaments, with some stones, not with diamonds though. And this is why I said in the beginning that we're talking here presumably we're talking here about diamonds specifically. So obviously in this period of times, like other precious stones were very popular, and they were very valuable, and they are valuable still because there's not a lot of them as like compared to diamonds. But we're talking about story of diamond, how one company made you believe that this is so rare and so precious. Getting back to this Roman friendship rings, as we can call it, they were actually more exquisite, they were decorated more, and they were more interesting also, very more interesting than those that that people who were like in love like exchange among themselves. But after the fall of Roman Empire, this actually practice was forgotten for hundreds of years actually, and until the Catholic Church like intervened in the matter. Going forward to 12th, 13th century, just overall 12th, 13th century, it was the peak, that was the moment when Catholic Church started to gain its power as we know it now. And in this period of time, so the end of 12th, beginning of 13th century, the Pope was Innocent the third, and he was an incredibly influential person, and not just because he was a pope, just overall for his time he was amazing, like enormously influential person. And it was he who exposed the opinion to the Catholic Church should have more administrative control over the institution of marriage. And therefore in 1215 he introduced reform that turned the Catholic Church into the main body governing all wedding ceremonies and also marriages. So therefore you had to apply for a permit to Pope. Then you needed to publicly announce your marriage and wait for certain mandatory period. This was this period where Pope was looking into your application, this period of consideration of your application. And this waiting period now we know as engagement period. This was what gave birth to real engagement rings. But still, we're not talking about diamond rings. So there were just other stuff. And also, plus, in this period of time, rings now became really an indicator of your status. So at first, only the upper classes were allowed to have rings decorated with different stones, and thus the richer a person was, the more exquisite, the more massive their jewelry were. However, again, it was not really about diamonds. And why? And here the answer is very simple, because people back then, so they knew diamonds. So again, back then diamonds were considered to be pretty rare, but not just because they could not find diamonds or something, simply because people back then didn't like them, because diamonds back then was not beautiful. They had no color, they were not iridescent, they did not shine, and so people were not they were not buying this. What is this about, right? And everything changed in the 15th century in Brugge. One craftsman, the cutter Lodewijk van Berken, he revolutionized the diamond cutting by inventing such thing that is called the scythe. So scythe is a wheel that used to polish a diamond and which were rotating very fast. This grinding wheel, he was putting some oil on that and some diamond dust. Because, as I said, it is really indeed true that you can cut diamond just with a diamond. This invention turned Brugge into the center of the world trade in diamonds. Brugge was on the dowry list of Mary of Burgundy, and therefore it was a great asset of Maximilian. And this first diamond ring, as we can say, was the first step toward acquiring the status of the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. And although this combination of political forces was very successful for them, however, the tradition of giving a diamond ring for an engagement never caught on until De Beers decided to create this tradition. So again, skipping to our period of time, to 1946, Beers conducted a consumer study. After the war, there were almost no aristocracy left, and with them, customers that were customers for family jewels or dresses, embroidered with the stones and so on. Now the middle class became the dominant in the world, and they also had money. Not so many as all of these aristocrats and everything, but they still had money. And however, they had a little bit other priorities, and they did not want to spend their money on such a waste as diamonds. In addition, not a lot of people were familiar with such a concept as ring for engagement, and certainly no one associated diamonds with romance and marriage. And the Beers began to battle over how to sell their low quality, these small and colorless diamonds for people, those little stones that they were not able to sell prior. So to go together with this advertisement agency, N.V. Ayers, they created a tradition and made people believe that it has been this tradition was going on for centuries actually. So they created the modern diamond ring and created its legend. It was a way to emotionally get people to buy diamonds, convincing everyone that it was more of a necessity than a temptation, and it was also a way to tap into the biggest buyer market, the middle class, even if they weren't actually interested in diamonds. So this period, De Beers had successfully managed to create an atmosphere of scarcity of diamonds through manipulation, and they were considered super rare, but it now was necessary to manipulate buyers as well. So what they were doing, so you see, step one, they created a sensitive story about the origin of their product. So this Maximilian and Mary of Burgundy story, they're love stories, we can say. And obviously it doesn't matter whether it was true or not. This is the precedent that they created. Step two, hire a talent advertising company, NVRs in our case, and sell the idea of diamond ring to an unsuspecting audience, especially the under 18 audience. In 1947 then, NVRs, namely Frances Gerety, she coined a new infamous slogan: diamonds are forever. And overall, you see, so Gerety, throughout her 25-year-old career, she created almost all of this very loud and famous De Beers promotional advertisement slogans. And in 1999, even the slogan "Diamonds Are Forever," it was considered like was recognized as the slogan of the century by Advertising Age. Dorothy Dignam, on her side, so she was doing the PR and product placement. And many actually of those who are studying this, what to say, this field of advertisement and sales and everything, I don't know how to call these people, right? They actually believe that it was Dorothy Dignam who created such concept and such thing as product placement. So she appealed to the film industry to force them to include the word diamond in the title of the movies, and also to add these precious stones to the wardrobe of the movie characters, movie heroines. And the most important, a part of this, so she understood that it's not enough to, to show these diamonds in movies. It was also very important to show these things in real life. So she was also in touch of showering, actresses in these diamonds. So it was Dignam who started the practice of giving large diamonds to celebrities for various events, so such as Oscars, like Kentucky Derby, some premieres, and etc., etc. Basically places where a lot of eyes and cameras would be on these actresses. Well, you see, over the time, diamonds started to be associated with the image of celebrity, and now I think that it would be safe for me to say that in a lot of our heads, diamonds and celebrity is actually now it equals, or diamonds are simply an integral part of being a celebrity. So the target audience obviously was middle class for that, but Dorothy and Gerety, they did not ignore the small aristocracy that remained, and also the so-called new money that started to emerge more and more. What I mean, they're just overall these rich people that not really they do not really fall under the concept of celebrity. So they were making them, they were also convincing these people that you need, diamond rings is it's some status and everything, and you need to buy them. And when, after the successful purchase by some very rich person or this aristocrat person, Dorothy would ask the media, she would go to the media and she would tell them that she would ask to show these rings, very big rings at this point, because people were very rich. So for them to show this ring on the first pages of newspapers, of magazines, whatever they were posting the pictures of these people. And of course, young girls were in the greatest focus of De Beers and NVAers. So they looked for different ways to instill in teenage girls the seed of believe in the fact that having an engagement ring is it was the only way to actually be engaged. They were toxic to everyone, because they did not forget about boys either. But with boys, they were using a little bit different toxic propaganda that, again, a man didn't really propose if he didn't have a diamond ring. And they were, also putting this idea that the size of your worth is directly proportional to the size and price of your diamond engagement ring. So again, you see also this is a very toxic trait to put in boys' heads. So they were toxic to both parties, as we can say. And this combination of new market research, advertising, and product placement resulted in unprecedented sales of a product that De Beers could not previously sell to people who didn't really want it. These two women, basically, they changed the way we see diamonds now and how we feel about diamond rings, and they helped invent and perfect modern advertising and also media. So to summarize, you see, this diamond engagement ring as a concept is an extremely recent thing that has flowed into our lives without any problems, and this is a confirmation of the power of the media manipulation and no, and also a successful De Beers marketing strategy. The diamond ring has simply become a world phenomenon and a symbol recognized in almost every country in our world, and even where, as I said, such type of things that engagement rings were not known even in medieval times, in prehistoric time, like in this ancient time, not prehistoric, but like ancient times. Firstly, when they started this campaign with propaganda about diamonds and everything, they were mostly focused, obviously, in Europe and rich Europe, on rich Europe and US. But in 1867, they decided to expand their market and their influence and propaganda, and they got to Asia also. And by 1978, if I'm not mistaken, by 1978, the propaganda actually got so successful that, and especially successful in Japan. So in 1978, half of all Japanese brides, they were wearing diamond engagement rings. And today, Japan is the world's second largest market of these jewels after the United States. De Beers, they didn't just create a myth and a market, they managed to create the most important things in people, the desire. Basically, with the right strategy and also propaganda, you can sell anything and make mass believe in the value of everything. Because it is also very interesting, so I read about one thing that like, for example, diamond and cubic zirconium, there are actually very similar stones, till the point that a lot of jewelers are actually saying that if you would put both of the stones in front of a jeweler, even a very experienced one, they will not be able to say the difference. The only difference, the only way how they can differentiate both of these stones is by the setting in which this stone is being put. So if it's zirconium is considered to be not so valuable, not so expensive as diamonds, so most of the time it would be sitting in, like, the setting will be not so expensive, so this is the only way how you can differentiate. But if you will put zirconium and diamond, so this is like the jewelers are saying that, not me, and like experienced jewelers, that if you will put zirconium and diamond in the same setting, expensive setting for example, without their tools, they will not be able to tell the difference. So once again, the power of artificial, this scarcity and advertisement creates wonders and can get into your head and very fast and with like incredible success. I will, leave you to your own conclusion, leave you to go into rabbit holes if you are interested, because I think it's a theme to get, very interesting to actually research for yourself. Stop, eating all of this shit that is being fed to you, and start to think a little bit. There is way more things in this world where you can put your money in rather than in Louis Vuitton bags or Cartier nail bracelets, for example. Like, we will stop here because, as I said, I have a lot of thinking. This is a very interesting topic for me, and I really like to talk about that, and how this luxury world, all of these celebrities and everything are literally eating all of your brains. Again, I will leave you to your own conclusion about, just because De Beers, they're not the only one who are making this and who are propagating all of this complete unnecessary thing and things that are not true. So, start to consume stuff with a little bit of your brain. You have a head on your shoulders for a reason, not to listen that Vogue are telling you to be skinny or something. You need to listen first of all to yourself. And again, please look outside, look at people outside, at your surrounding, and just please start to see that no one, those things that someone is telling you to do, they are in minority of what is going on outside the world. So again, I will leave you here because I will I can talk about this forever, again, because it's a very interesting topic for me. I'm not attacking anyone. I just genuinely don't understand a lot of things. I just genuinely do not understand a lot of takes, a lot of things that, you know, I'm seeing on internet, that like girls are and like women, and I agree on a lot of stuff though that is being sold because, you know, it's part of patriarchy. But a lot of stuff like said you need to be skinny, you need to wear certain things. These things I don't understand. Like, who is propagating you what? You know, I think it's that it is a little bit of you problem if you are buying into this shit. If you're like reading, my god, reading, looking at all this shit, and you are like, you know, like producing it on yourself, then it just means that this advertisement, those people who are in charge of this advertisement, they really know the type of people like you are, and they specifically target you because you are very easy to be influenced. Again, create yourself a safer environment. Oh, you know what I will also say here about all of the social media and about all the shit that a lot of you are saying about like social media are destroying this world and everything because all of these models and influencers. Why are you subscribed on these models and influencers? Like literally on the first place. Like I never again get this problem because like for example, like when I started to get more active on Instagram and everything, that was not my main like interest to be subscribed on, to follow this like influencers, you know, Kardashians, whatever, you name it, because I was just not interested in that, because I don't understand how it can be interesting, you know, when you're just scrolling and they're just like literally like same people, just like these girls that have completely same faces, completely same figures, having completely same lives, you know, completely same photos, completely uninteresting photos. Like, why would you subscribe on that? Like, that's not interesting. There is so many things like on the so already named Instagram, like art stuff, history stuff, nature stuff, travel stuff. There's so many things there, and you are the only one who are actually responsible for what you are consuming in these social medias. Because I am like more than sure that all of these influencers, they're not standing with a gun near your head and telling you like follow me, you know, look at my life and look how I live. No, you are the only one who are, you know, who are in charge of this. You are the only one who wants to buy this. So why are you complaining about this? Why are you complaining about this thing that you are, well, interested in, or I don't know how to call it? No, you can create so into like my feed was never so like boring, and because again I was never interested in that, and there's like thousands of people, like millions of people like me, you know. I was always, you know, Instagram for me was a place for inspiration, a place for like showing also some of my own like artistic, I don't know, vision skills, you know, when I started to do my own self-portraits, trying to do something interesting, not, you know, just showing myself, you know, on the beach, or this is not interesting. For like photography also, like consume something more interesting, became a little bit more interesting people. And I don't know, this is actually also a very interesting thing for me. Like I'm very curious why people are subscribing on all of these influencers and stuff, why they want their feed on, again, let's say on Instagram, to look like that, to be just like to look like you know, that they are scrolling and they're just like naked people, they're half naked. Like why it's so interesting? Like I don't understand. Genuinely don't understand. So yeah, okay. So I am shutting up because again, like I can go into depth here. Yeah, so I'm just very, very curious about this, about all of this psychology, and you know, and like why certain people, again, people like me, people like me but more intelligent, people like me but like me not so intelligent, we're not buying. And some of you who are no less intelligent are buying this. And with the same, you see, there is just also the thing that I have a lot of complexes, I have a lot of problems myself, I have so many these thoughts in my head that like specifically my father put it in this head. So I have a lot of things, you know, like we had some traumatic experience also in my life with like domestic violence and everything. So you see, so it's not that I am very like confident person, you know, and that's why I'm not. No, I have a lot of insecurities for myself. Is that just at some point I was like, can I change them? Really, I cannot. I tried to work them out. I couldn't, and I was like, well, okay, I cannot do anything without that. So why am I bothered about that? You know, I have a lot of things to do. So so this is why I'm interested. Why people with the same background, same upbringing, same like intellectual capabilities, or how to call it, right? Why we are some of us buying some shit, other don't. This is a very interesting topic for me, to be honest, and I really would like actually to talk about this with some people, especially from the West, because this is such a thing for you in the West, because we don't really have it here in Ukraine. Like, I mean, there is a lot of people who are, you know, running after brands and they are showing off this like Prada, Louis Vuitton, Dior, you know, all of this shit, a lot of stuff. But here it is understandable. I understand why our people are doing this, but for you, like, I don't understand there. So it's, you see, it's also very interesting. Like psychologically, it's very interesting for me. So yeah, so I will leave you here. I will leave down also a recommendation for one of the books, very interesting book, and it's not just about like you will find also about the beers there, and this is mainly where I was taking also the information, but there's actually a lot of different interesting story about the different very famous jewelries and how these certain pieces of jewelry changed the story, like it changed the history and just overall interesting facts behind these jewelries and stuff. So I will leave it down below, and yeah, I'm shutting up. So again, if you have some thoughts, like you know, I'm not attacking. I'm really curious about all this, and I'm like into the conversation. So if you have some ideas, some thoughts, and or just your own experience you want to share, like feel free to write it down in the comments. Like I'm very curious to read it or something. So yeah, so I hope to. So be careful again with what you're consuming. Be conscious about what you're consuming. You are in charge of your consuming. So I wish you all the best. Wish you a good day, good evening, good morning. Wish you good weather wherever you are, and yeah, wish you all the best, and hope to see you in the next videos. Bye bye.